Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Jeff Patterson. I'm head of education at Finance Magnets, including our new portal, FM Academy. We have a very special treat for you today. The topic of this seemingly needs no introduction, talking about Gen Z, why they won't work for anyone really, and spoiler alert, we're going to get to why that is and what solutions there are moving forward. Before we do, however, I would like to turn the floor over to my panelists so they can introduce themselves. Let's start.
Hello, my name is Marie. I am in the industry for 15 years in the HR and talent management. And of course, we see a lot of issues now with Gen Z and the companies. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, I'm Mariana Hadjiandoniou. I'm 25 years in the industry, so you can do the counting of the age, I guess. I'm the founder and the director of Perhan Group, an HR consulting firm in the HR field and specifically in the fintech, let's say, for the past 10 years. And I'm excited to talk about Gen Z, which has filled the room already. And thank you for coming.
Donna Stevenson, Emerald Zebra Recruitment and Executive Search, 20 plus years doing this in the region from Limassol here in Cyprus and over to UAE, Singapore, and everything in between, a little bit of Africa in the last couple of years. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
From my side, I'm not so much recruiting Gen Z, but I'm recruiting the leadership that is leading and managing Gen Z. So I have some things to share, which I hope will be insightful.
Thanks for that, guys. Well, it seems like we have half of a century of experience here, so we should be able to give some good feedback here. So let's just cut through the brass tacks here and start with the current state of play. And Marianne, I want to talk to you about this. Gen Z in the workplace, we all know the current situation, AI, everything else, upsetting the status quo. What can you tell me about the current situation as you see it?
Okay, let's discuss first of all, and I think let's set the boundaries about the AI. I think we all agree that it's not a trend anymore.
Sure.
It's something that it came to our lives, it will stay in our lives, it will stay in our business, in our corporate world, day in and day out. So a lot of things change inside the organization, starting from hiring, moving to policies and procedures, well-being, and all the related matters. We're not going to discuss a lot because the ladies are there to support it, but there are a lot of things that are changing. So what I see is that the companies that can adjust fast, and that's, I think, the most critical word is how fast you can adjust and be adaptable, then things will be smoother, not only for Gen Z, but also for the millennials and the rest of the company that is in.
This is fair. And in terms of, you mentioned fast. Speed is obviously defined in different ways. It's just something that are companies even capable of adapting at this level of speed? How can they adjust their hiring strategies, maintain engagement, well-being, any of these types of, the human connection? Is this something that's even possible to adjust to or recalibrate to? Or is this something that, we're all just along for the ride at this point?
Okay, first of all, I will say something that I think we all agree on, that learning and training and development is part of our culture, because it's obvious, yes, we study, we are professionals, we have the expertise, but because things are changing, we need to learn, we need to train ourselves, we need to see what are the trends now in terms of well-being, we need to ask questions, to ask people what they want, what they think will get them motivated, change and adjust our recruitment strategies, see what's the trend there. Donna said about recruiting the leaders that will manage the Gen Z. So how well educated or how well they know that sphere in order to get them in the companies to work with.
That's fair. Did anyone else want to elaborate that on that point, or is there something else that...
I think I can
think-
add something
yeah.
there as
Perfect.
well, that when we talk about these leaders, and okay, not everyone has kids, but a lot of these leaders are raising Gen Z.
Gen Z, bravo.
So
Great phrase.
Z, British.
Yes.
So Gen Z. I have 2 children, so I see it. There are problems with screens, for example, attention, and so many different things that have come up not by fault of the generation, but just because of the technological advances, which are advancing so fast. So I think, when leadership perhaps complain or are unsure how to lead, manage, motivate, engage, retain Gen Z, they also are having personal experience of actually raising Gen Z kids at the same time. So it's a different outlook, one in the business environment,
And
one in the home.
private, yeah.
It's an interesting perspective, certainly.
Yeah.
I think it's that dynamic, the way those blend together. I definitely think that's a very interesting way of looking at this.
Yeah.
And I think Marie will agree as well that when it comes to design now our well-being strategies and the cultures inside the organization, we consider a lot of things that, 15 years ago was not even on the table for a discussion, but now it's there,
15 years, about 5 years ago.
Yeah, because 15 years ago, if you say something about remote working or working from home, or it will be like, okay, well, what's this? Why? But now it's a fact,
Ubiquitous, normal.
It's normal.
Exactly. Yeah. No. This is true actually, because and internally in the organizations we have different kind of strategies. Using old HR strategies is not working anymore. So we need to adjust, as Mariana said before. And Donna, we need to adjust and we need to make the changes based on what Gen Z wants right now, not what we think they want at the end of the day.
Do you think this problem that exists, this impetus and need to change, is this something you think is universally adopted, or are there still people out there who they don't see it this way? They just see this as a temporary aberration, or maybe they just refuse to believe this. Is this something, I guess, how well established is this?
Of course, to make changes within an organization, there is a lot of, it's scary for everyone. It's scary,
Yeah.
But having a new generation right now, we need to consider what they really want in order to attract them and then to be able to retain them. Otherwise, we are going to lose. We are going to lose in this market, and we are not going to find candidates. And then there is this stress, and or the best leader is going to leave.
Yeah.
So how I'm going to replace this person? So we need to start thinking about different ways to attract them. For example, just forget about these buzzwords that we were using for millennials: well-established company, regulated company, and I think we are going to agree with that. Family environment, and this is not what now Gen Z is looking for. And we have recent studies now that they show Gen Z is valuing a lot upskilling, so learning and development, as Mariana said before, is very important. When we say learning and development, it's not just to have a platform and to let them learn. They need coaching from their managers as well. They are expecting also this empathy. They need this time to learn. We cannot just hire them and then to tell them, you know what, in 2 days you're going to start going out to clients. No, they need their own time. And of course, workplace culture now. A lot of candidates and a lot of people now, and especially because Gen Z is in TikTok, in social media, in these platforms, they are giving their feedback immediately. They don't care who is going to listen to that. They are saying, you know what happened today with my boss? He told me this and that.
X, Y, Z.
Yes. So it's very important to be careful of what we discuss with our people now.
I even doing that.
You see? Yeah, so we need first of all to understand this generation and then to be able to adjust it internally. And I had also last week a meeting with millennial leaders and they were like, you know what, we cannot find candidates and we tried, our people are leaving in the first 90 days, you know, which is an issue. And when we went back, I was like, okay, let's see, but we have the best job description, ChatGPT wrote it. I'm like, okay, let's see your job description. All these kind of buzzwords, and they promise hybrid work model. You have a hybrid, yes, once a week. This is not a hybrid work model, actually. This is not a hybrid work model. Actually, this is just one day for people to say that we have a hybrid model. And we can see also that Gen Z is looking for at least 2-3 days from home. Yeah. I mean, this is a must now. So we need to adjust at this kind of...
expectations.
Yes, of expectations.
And level, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, full disclosure, if you use ChatGPT to run your business model, you got what you pay for. So it's, I can't really see why, it's starting to become apparent why that could be an issue. But okay, let's pivot a little more into employee branding. And I think that, you know, I'd like to talk about, you know, solutions here. How do we see ourselves getting out of this? How do we see ourselves attracting this new wave of individuals, new hiring classes, Gen Z, anyone else in the horizon? So maybe you'd like to take that one, talk about how, you know, these companies can position themselves. Like, how do you cast that net out? How do you attract these individuals and put yourselves on their radar, so to speak?
Yeah. First of all, to take into consideration what Gen Z wants, I mean, what we discussed so far, and then to adjust it within the business based on the business vision, mission, and what we can afford. Because if our competitor, for example, is giving cars, I don't know, to the employees, but I have a startup company, I am not going to afford that, you know. Yeah. But, you know, I can adjust though. I can give something else. So we need to see the big picture and to be able to provide all, or for example, I am a startup company and I'm looking now for people, especially now they are millennials and Gen Z. So I need to adjust both generations. And we need to think, millennials, of course, they are for a long time in the industry, for example. However, Gen Z, now they are in the industry. Millennials, they didn't have any issues to work more hours, you know, after work, 10, 11 hours. But Gen Z now is looking for a work-life balance. Exactly. Yeah, so we need to adjust that internally, also based on the companies, what the company can accommodate. And of course, talent management and learning and development is under the talent management, you know. And talent management nowadays is more important than ever. Yeah. Because they need the support, this coaching, they need the engagement, and now with the AI, of course, we have AI tools to calculate the engagement of our people internally, and motivation, and of course, career progression. But career progression is not just 1 month you are a junior, I don't know, analyst, and then you're becoming the next 2-3 months team lead. Yeah. No, they need their own time to adjust, to learn, and of course to coach them. So yes, I have an example actually on that, on the employee branding. Please. If it's okay to share it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was working in a company a few years back, and we wanted to attract Gen Z people. So the company didn't have a proper employee branding, so we needed to revamp everything from the beginning. And but we needed to start from inside. We didn't start only with the marketing, because this is what I see now with a lot of companies. They're looking for an employee branding strategist, but at the end of the day, they don't start from inside. It's just a marketing tool. It's like a marketing strategy, you know. But we need to go back and do our research, competitors, what they do, and how we can, I mean, what we can bring internally in the company to adjust our talent management practices and everything, the whole package. And then to take everything outside, career page, job descriptions, and everything. And when we did this, when we used this kind of strategy, in 9 months, we had 32% increase of Gen Z candidates, which is
pretty big percentage.
Exactly, it was a lot. Back then we could recruit people. It was not only in Cyprus, it was from people that they were applying from abroad as well. So, I mean, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
So, I think we need to just sit to create a strategy and discuss with also the leaders. In my opinion, is that what Donna said as well, we need to educate our leaders to understand the importance, why it is important, and what is the impact the Gen Z or any other, recruit has when a person is joining the company. Yeah.
So this is something that you would say is definitely shared by people at all levels. This is not just, it's up to one individual, one's just leaders, everything else. And I mean, this seems like a multifaceted issue, and it's going to take a multifaceted solution to solve this.
Exactly. So. Yeah.
32% is a
yes, 32%. We were so happy when, it was amazing.
And do you feel such a model or approach can be adopted or recalibrated even in today's sense, or not to say this is a panacea here, but is this something like the path forward, or something that gives you guys hope, or?
No, actually, that was something that I was proud of, to be honest, and but it's something that we need to take into consideration. Change is not always difficult. It's going to bring also a result. So when we are adjusting, is that what we've mentioned before, to adjust, but we take some time. We're not going to make the change in a month. Yeah. We don't have to be in a rush, When we give it some time, it's going to give positive results, actually, at the end of the day.
Well, therein lies the challenge, because you mentioned this aspect of speed before, and sometimes that's not a luxury that teams can afford.
True.
So you have this dissonance that exists, and it's definitely a tension. We can
exactly.
Call it that, so.
Yeah, but you know what? The adjustment, it depends also on the workforce that you have internally. For example, when I ran that, we had an HR department, and so, but I ran, all the employee branding. So it was not one man in a show, And then we had also marketing team that was helping us afterwards. So it was not just the HR is going to do this and marketing team is going to do that. It's and the marketing, it took us like 2-3 months to decide on the colors of the website.
Oh.
Yes, it was, because the CEO was a millennial, and then I was trying to explain the psychology behind, and then discussing, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. But,
and patience.
Exactly. Yeah, and with millennials, if I'm not I am millennial, but with millennials, we learn how to work fast.
Yeah.
But with Gen Z now, we need to give this time. For them also to realize what they do, what the company does, and what we need from them, and of course to have all these kind of metrics, etc. Yeah.
Do you feel that's how they see it? Do you feel that is how they see this?
The Gen Z, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Gen Z is now in this kind of, Gen Z actually, they need to take their time. Of course, they do their research. They are over there to do their research for everything. They ask ChatGPT, Claude for everything. Gemini, do a research for me. Please find me a company to apply tomorrow. But they need also what they are asking. And because I forgot to mention before that, when they are applying, before to apply actually to positions, they contact other people working in these companies. And they are like, what? I saw this position, but I wanted to ask you, what's your opinion? Or they search online as well to see the feedback from current employees. And when they do that, they are asking, what's the culture there? Are they patient or they are not?
Yeah.
Do they want me to join and then the second day to go outside for the client, to bring a client, for example? So they want to know all these internal culture, let's say.
Happenings.
And yes, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add about that in terms of the culture or this?
I will share an incident about creating a culture. I was working, one of my previous work, I was the HR director of Parimatch. Parimatch moved to Cyprus from Ukraine, headquartering in Limassol, but supporting and sponsoring Apoel. I don't know if you know Apoel, but if you do, it's a football club in Nicosia. As I said, the headquartering was in Limassol, meaning the majority of new hires supposed to be from Limassol, yes? So one of the things that we create is like to follow the trend of Carnival in Limassol. So we were starting in Cygnopempty, celebrating for 10 days. You remember you were doing the hiring for us. Yeah. So we were celebrating actively the Carnival in Limassol in order to show them that, yes, we're supporting Apoel and yes, the company is investing a lot of money in Nicosia, but we're greatly supporters. And this was something that needed to be created to change the culture, to have the best marketing ambassadors are your employees, are the people that they are working in the company. And just a bit to add to what Marie said, is that Gen Z, they have the Zen mode. Z generation, Zen mode. They need to be in a Zen mode to be working and adjusting and be productive. You have a lot to say.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead.
No,
Support
it's
us.
okay. I mean, I would only add there just something short in technology now has enabled Gen Z to actually get a lot of information before they apply. So if we take Cyprus and Cyprus employees, job seekers, if you like, they are able to look at, let's say, Glassdoor. They're still able to ask friends and family because that's the close-knit society that Cyprus is. But because of technology now, they can go online, they can look at even, if they're looking at applying for a Forex brokerage, they can go and read the Trustpilot wiki. Okay, people don't really pay attention to wiki. But there's so many tools out there now that Gen Z can actually turn towards, consult, and decide whether this is an employer brand that they want to be part of. And that's when it gets extremely competitive, because how do you actually stand out? And I'll leave how do you stand out for a question you'll ask me later.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I think what you mentioned was a very interesting dilemma, if you will. Just the elastic decision making a lot of these individuals have, and what actually governs their decisions. And this information now is more accessible than ever before. And the idea that anyone can just tap into this and access this, and there's no shame in this, and there's no harm in this. I think information is power. Being able to have a more well-informed decision is good for any individual, especially if their expectations are not aligned with this now. I think it's only going to help later on.
You can also visit Reddit, and you can find so many threads there that Gen Z, or all generations, all job seekers or employees are actually engaging with in some shape or form. So it's also a good idea for any employers to actually look up, search what is being said, if anything is being said online about what it's like to work for their organization. So, again, on the tools and that information that's available, and also that AI can make applications on their behalf, AI can write their CV. Something definitely has to change with regards to how you hire. But the attraction first has so many different layers, as Mariana and Marie have actually alluded to there, that culture, transparency, leadership. Somebody that is in a leadership position, do they actually want to manage people? Do they have a passion for managing people?
Or the time to do so.
Do they have the time to do so? And that's also an interesting point as well. Arguably, yes, they will have more time than ever before, because AI is taking some of those mundane, repetitive tasks. Therefore, that time if it's free and available, should definitely be used towards mentoring and coaching, basically removing the obstacles for any employee, whether it's Gen Z, whether it's a millennial, whoever, spending the time to coach, remove obstacles so that that person understands that there's support to get them to where they want to be. And that's part and parcel of the retention. Good manager, good leadership, good culture, strong culture, and very much a culture that is built on, we know what success looks like in this role. And we map it as to how we actually get every intake through. And there's a history there, there's a trail. This person who was previously in the role, which you are now refilling the seat of, you're not just hiring for a seat, you're then showing that this person is loyal to the organization, has stayed, has been promoted, and that's what success looks like. And if I may add as well, with salary transparency too, what does success look like? Absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I've been championing this for years because on both sides, I mean, we won't go into the debate on that because it's huge, but being transparent with regards to not just what the entry-level salary is, but you have your grading system so that the Gen Z coming in can actually see, okay, my starting salary is this. Success looks like X, Y, and Z, whichever route I take, and my salary will increase accordingly. So there's a route, there's a pathway. And then it's the leadership's perspective and what they bring from themselves, also from their home life or relatives that might be Gen Z, in how you actually manage those people. Because there are differences. There's some big differences and there's some subtle differences as to how you motivate, manage, and lead every generation.
Every generation. And if I may add to this, what is important when you have these C-level roles and the people that they are doing the leading and managing and whatever, feel comfortable to train the people and coach the people in order to replace you. Because that's the flow, that's the flow. They need to be trained. You have a question later, I'm going to answer it because I saw your face. But it's important for the C-level to share their knowledge, to realize that, yes, I'm towards the end of my managing career and someone else will replace me. So come on, that's the normal thing to do. And when I have people in my team and they're saying to me, wow, you're sharing, this contact, why you gave it? I said, why not? I mean, I want to take vacations. Finally,
Yes.
It's like the normal thing to be done. You're not a CMO, a chief HRO, whatever, head of product, okay, yes, you are now. Train your team in order for them to become, and be grateful that they gain from you and they will remember you, that you were among the managers, that they took something, At the end of the day,
No, I mean, you make a really valid point, and I think that's something that perhaps a lot of leadership managers, they may not see, either they may be threatened by this, maybe they just aren't even aware of that, maybe they never lived through that. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think is particularly resonating. I actually wanted to revisit one thing that you mentioned, because you mentioned leadership, and I think it's very important that this is something that I think that at every level I think people need to reevaluate. How much of this do you feel is overall this issue is on leadership or HR? Is this something that it starts at the top and sort of emanates down, or is this sort of a strategy that...
I think it's a big part, and I met a founder of an organization yesterday at the networking, and it was quite interesting what he said, because I said, okay, I'm going to use that in my speech today. He interviewed 7 people from a couple of competitors in the space, and why are they looking to leave? It's a culture issue.
Culture.
They're not looking to move for money. And this founder identified exactly which line manager specifically.
Oh.
If you're going to interview 7 people, then you're going to know, the same issues are cropping up, so you can figure it out. So imagine then you're the founder of the competitor and you don't know this is happening, and you're about to potentially lose 7 people. It's not 1, not 2, but 7. 7 people from the same organization looking to leave, interviewing with a competitor because they don't like the culture. And that's not just about Gen Z, but it's important for Gen Z because Gen Z are going to be closing that gap. Every generation is, the next potential leadership that is going to be the continuation of the profit-making capitalist system.
But even to your point, even viewing things on that analog, I think is very important because some people, they don't view that way. They don't see that natural progression, that natural trend, that endpoint. I don't know, truthfully, what endpoint they even see because, how hostile people are even for basic task handovers or just, it's like you said, people want to go on vacation, people want a life. They see their own career maybe winding down or at least transitioning, and, for whatever reason, people seem generally opposed sometimes to that sort of transition. So it's just interesting to hear.
And it's also about style as well, because I think the management style of yesteryear doesn't work, of course, with new generations coming through. They want space, they want autonomy, they don't want the very rigid direction. They want to have that space to develop with the guidance. And they may not stay within the organization. Retention is so many.
Retention's always been an issue, now more than ever.
It's a huge area to discuss, but they may not stay. But if they leave, they will remember those that have guided them, those that have spent the time. And that also speaks volumes in a small country or a sector, specific niche sector. The word travels around, and that can also be very representative of your employer brand, just by having leaders that you've invested in that know how much of a responsible, how responsible it is to actually train, develop, and lead the next generation. They won't keep 100%.
True.
But it doesn't matter because those people that then move on will remember that actually if it wasn't for this line manager, I wouldn't be where I am today. And actually that's something that I hear a lot when I'm speaking to, I've been recruiting people for 25 years. So a lot of people that I meet with now are leaders. They're heads of offices, they're CEOs, they're at the director level, they're even founders. But they will always remember who got them there along the way.
That's true.
And it's no different for Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to phrase it, because certainly these things stick out in people's minds, and it's something that transcends rank, generation. I think it's something that, quite frankly, I wish more people thought of in that way and saw the value of, because you said this is something you've seen over the course of your career, and it's certainly been a constant, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be changing anytime soon, no matter how much everything around us changes.
Yeah.
True.
Do you have anything to add about that? Or?
No, actually, I am.
Yes,
I'm covered now.
All right, well, let's just, I'd like to at least pivot now towards, sort of, just a little how, this is a complicated situation, I think we could all agree. Not that this is insurmountable by any stretch, but, this is going to require a little bit of work, I think, from everyone, be it the leadership, HR, everything else. I mean, this is something I wanted more to direct to you, Donna. Like, Gen Z, they expect things from managers, how leadership styles, they need to evolve and change. I mean, do you have any sort of, advice for other people? I know you mentioned the culture. You use that, dare I say, horror story of the 7 people that are looking to go. I mean, looking out in this audience, imagine there's some leadership out here right now. They're looking for hope. They're looking for actionable change. They're looking for advice. What advice do you have for those people to say, look, here's how we get out of this. Here's how these people, they're not going to leave. Here's how these people are going to stay, and here's how they're going to be the next leadership in this company.
I think it's much of what I've just touched upon, and it's such a huge, broad area that we could talk on each segment. But if I'm to home in on a few, I think it's what I just mentioned previously, that the Gen Z, whether they stay or they leave, they will always remember that support that they had. So my advice would be to ensure that that support is there from the hiring process. So you're not leaving people hanging. They know the process. It runs at speed, and to the day that the candidate, the new employee, starts the job, so that they have a team of people that they will shadow. That the structure, basically, at the end of the day, the structure is there throughout the recruiting process, through the onboarding, and have the leadership mapped what does success look like in this role. And it's very clear, so everything is transparent. There's that word again, transparency is key. I start a new role, I want to know what is my future in this role. Maybe it's premature to want to know that, but I want to know that. I want to know, is this organization going to warrant 8 hours, 9 hours of my time every single day? My thinking, my breathing about how I'm going to contribute to this organization as well as make a living. Difference between, I think, millennial and Gen Z is expenses, housing ladder that perhaps Gen Z are not quite on. Maybe, it will take a much longer time because of, various economic factors. So they don't have this, these financial burdens.
Like the
millennials that needed to maybe stay because how they're going to pay their mortgage. They've signed up to a mortgage for 20 plus years. They didn't have the luxury, so they just had to knuckle down, accept, and work. Big differences. Gen Z don't really need to do that. Gen Z have options. And that then also stems into, are they working in an environment for a company that is actually legitimate, ethical, and all of these other very important factors to make going to work worthwhile.
It's interesting how you were able to trace the genesis of how this all started, which sounds mostly, derived from socioeconomic terms, and it's just interesting how that sort of governs everything else. How they prioritize different things, how they view things under a different analog, even from different generations. Just, the cards that you're dealt with sort of dictates everything else around you, and it's a fascinating sort of thought experiment that I think really lends more towards how they approach this, the culture, like you mentioned, and weaving everything in together.
Yeah, I have a daughter, she's 15. Her last resort is to come and work for me at Emerald Zebra. Last resort.
Last resort?
Last resort, because why would I want to spend all day in an office in front of a computer? And so these are not uncommon scenarios,
Well, I started off a pulse on the 15-year-old workforce these days, or potential workforce, so it's interesting to hear that, and it's just, if that's what people
want to be entrepreneurs, want to set up their own, whatever it may be. A lot of, it's always been the case. They don't want to work for other people. They want to work for themselves. But in order to do that, they need a foundation. They need, ideally, to have some exposure to the workforce, even if it's for a couple of years before then going out alone.
One can hope.
But there's no escaping hiring the Gen Z. It's necessary. It's part of, human society, and I think that we should look at it as an important hire that needs structure, but not in the sense of structure that the millennials had. It's a completely different structure, and you adapt to that. And may I add another piece of advice?
Please.
Job adverts. So a lot of job adverts, they're leading with why your organization is so good, what your benefits are, etc., etc. But if you look at it and if you really took the time to map out what success looks like in the seat, then you should lead with that. And if you have actually promoted people, and the reason that the role is now open because you've made a promotion, well, that speaks volumes. And I think that there's a lot that we can do with the job description to adapt that, rather than just having why we're so good to work for and what our achievements are and the list of duties and responsibilities and requirements. I think we can move that language, that script, much further than that to be more attractive, more enticing.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, guys, before we turn the floor over for questions, are there any other solutions you wish to embark on everyone else? Things that you feel are, something that wasn't covered, something you wanted to add, something that you want to leave, hope with the audience that, this isn't the end of the road, that, we'll just wait for the next generation and this one will blow over. And it's, anything else you wanted to mention, or should we just turn over for questions?
Yeah, can I add something?
Please.
Basically, I was looking for some numbers last days, and I noticed that 30% of our workforce now, they're leaving before the 90 days. I mean, before to close is 3 months. And I had also some discussions with some other colleagues, in HR. And when I was reading these numbers, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to see what happened. And it was about poor onboarding process, and it was about not clear expectations, and also absent management. So is that what we mentioned before, but it's good also when we see the numbers to understand the importance of an effective onboarding process. Is not just, a checklist anymore. No. We cannot hire a person and to give them just some PDFs and access to the system and to tell them, figure it out. It's not working anymore for Gen Z. It was working, of course, for the millennials because they wanted, to thrive.
Yeah, to figure it out all by ourselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Or they didn't have a choice.
They didn't have a choice.
Exactly, yeah. But for Gen Z, this doesn't work. And of course, management needs to be there for Gen Z. I mean, if we are not going to be there to coach them, to lead them, to show them the way, to help them grow, I mean, we're going to lose them. So if you're going to think about the numbers, it's going to damage the business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so focusing a bit on that, just trying to create, talent management, as we mentioned before, it's leadership development. It's about internal mobility, of course, the knowledge of leaders, to be transferred to other people. So all these, we can package it under talent management, and then to help these people, to grow within the company. And this company is going to drive success. These people, they will drive the success of the business. They are going to help the business to scale up at the end of the day. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
If I may add just a couple of things. If we sum it up, give to the Gen Z the voice, and to the rest of the people the ears to listen, but active listening, not just listen. But I think that's the summary of everything.
And
because
very important. You got the point actually over here, because we can see also some people
to
that
speak out. Speak out and actively listen, but listen correctly.
Exactly, and to act on that.
But you mentioned complaining. Every generation complains about.
We are complaining all the time. It's okay.
Yeah,
that's nothing new.
We are complaining all the time. It's okay. We're not a Gen Z.
It's interesting you mentioned. It almost is distilled into a time constraint. Just onboarding issues, the actual time to actually train these people. It doesn't matter whether they're in leadership, whether you're the line manager, whether anyone else. You spoke of this 90-day churn, if you will, and it's just, from where I'm sitting, that just seems like that could be a particularly problematic period and certainly volatile, to say the least. And it just sort of, at least in my mind, emphasizes the importance of these things: proper onboarding, proper training, structured learning. These sort of things that I think are more relevant now than ever before, because every time there's this churn, every time someone leaves, every time someone walks out that door, it's time wasted, money spent, and it's
Jeff, even proper offboarding. Even that,
Right, yeah.
we need to take care of that as well. It's part of the process, Even proper offboarding, how people are leaving your company. So it's everything. Like,
And
Could you
what
elaborate
they're
on that?
saying when they're leaving. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
like in terms of proper offboarding. I mean, this is a term that, I'll be honest, I very rarely hear this sort of perspective, which I find very refreshing. Maybe you can just elaborate on that real quick.
how people is leaving the company.
Well, I mean,
did they get the proper compensation? Did they had an exit interview? Did they get a recommendation letter if they deserve to get one? I mean, there are a lot of...
And did the business make a mistake?
Bravo! Did the business make a mistake, and how they are going to approach the person that left the company or is leaving the company?
And this is something that, you mentioned the Reddit threads, everything else, the trust, but this is something that a lot of these people are tuned in for. Like, this is something you think it would be very pertinent to those people's interests, the offboarding process?
Yeah, I think, there will always be turnover.
Sure.
But the point is that, you understand what the reasons are for the turnover. Natural turnover, it's acceptable. It happens, and you wish the employee all the best. But, anything beyond that needs to have the energy put there and the exposure to whatever that problem is. To correct it and facilitate then the hires of the future.
Yeah, true.
Makes complete sense. Well, I'd like to turn the floor over for questions. Does anyone have any inquiry, question, anything about anything anyone said, or?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Marimon.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you in person. I want to ask basically, what would you advise the C-level as the HR if they just don't want to listen any of these things? Like you were explaining proper onboarding, education, all these things. How do you communicate this with the C-level management? They don't want to hear about it, by the way.
You go first. You go first. I will do the closing. I will do the closing.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, we have they don't want to hear, but they really like numbers now. I mean, with the numbers, I guess, we can convince them. Like, you know what? The last 6 months, we had a 12% increase, for example, of turnover. And then you give out the numbers and the reasons and everything, to them. So we need to do something on that. If it's a problem on leadership, then we need to train our leaders. If it's a problem on a culture, then you are going to them with solutions, not just a problem. And I believe they are going to understand that this is an issue. And then, of course, you are ready again to show them the cost as well of the business, because otherwise they are not going to understand that their business is bleeding because of these reasons. So this is my own strategy, but ladies,
and be ready to be to stand in front of them, like literally stand in front of them and give them numbers and say to them, look, we need to do X, Y, Z. Of course, that risk my own, my own position, because at some stage I was in conflict with the C-level, and I said, okay, I want to pay the people 2 days before the end of the month. This is me. I mean, if you hire me, this is what I want to do. If you cannot deliver, then you cannot have me on board. It is what it is. But as Marie said very correctly, they love numbers. So whenever you sit on the table with them, have the numbers and the solutions, and they will understand the problem through the solution. So I hope it will work, by the way.
Don't have anything to add over.
And just hiring the right leadership, I guess. So you actually understand then
Thank you, Donna.
what is the culture that you're running, and what are, hire for the aptitude for the culture that you actually want to roll out, or that culture that simply evolves. Anyone else that is in the organization that is not perhaps towing that cultural example, then they need to be phased out in the correct manner. People are replaceable, not just at the junior level, but also at the senior level. And I think also, leadership need to understand that as well, that if they're not leading that is in the interest of the organization, then the organization has issues. Like the example I used, 7 people looking to leave because of one leader. And I think many people can recognize this, maybe not in the current companies, but previous companies that they've worked for or things that they've heard. And many adjustments. I mean, it's such a big topic, but, it definitely starts with hiring for the aptitude, for the culture of the leadership style.
So, any other questions or?
No?
Well, I hope you join me in giving everyone a big round of applause. You guys have been wonderful. So.
Thank you.